I wonder why. I wonder why Scott has an easy time tearing up in his matches. Look at this Kate.
Oh, that's true, but that is entirely dependent on you as a killer.
Look at that, bro.
I totally understand that point.
Yeah, dude.
Don't just stalk one guy.
I wonder why Scott has an easy time of tearing up in his matches.
Anymore. I don't know how to. That's just on you, man. Just stop doing that.
He didn't even say that he was doing that. You just assumed he was doing that and then say his problems with Myers are on him. He is the most disrespectful content creator in the community. I'm sorry. The amount of disrespect he throws at his commenters is just amazing. I mean, that guy just gave his opinion, and then he was like, "Oh, you're just playing him bad," with no proof of that either. No proof of that. Just said it was on him. How do people still watch this guy?
All right, what's next? Nobody bringing up Mahomie Myers, who starts the game off worse than a basic 115 killer. Must do nothing for 5 seconds to be a basic 115 killer, and after doing nothing for another 5 seconds, can instant down for 60 seconds. Good thing Mikey has a tombstone piece, which granted is completely busted. That is true. Tombstone piece is pretty busted. So he starts off worse than a basic 115 killer for 5 seconds. That's true. For 5 seconds, he is worse than a basic 115 killer.
But yeah, you downplayed 115 killer in the Legion video. You have to remember how much this man downplayed 115 killer. That is a huge importance of why Myers is so bad. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that's all he has. That's all he has. I disagree with that. Ooh, like a terror radius is a power, dude. Yeah, it's a power on Ghostbase and Wraith because they don't have a terror radius. And they're undetectable. When Myers is in tier 2, with a 16-meter terror radius, by the way, not 8. Not 8. Unless you have monitor and abuse. So we're already bringing perks to try to fix the character because the character's trash. A perk that also, by the way, isn't very good. I'm just going to say it. It's a scrub destroyer. That's what I've realized about it. It's a scrub destroyer. Certainly, it is that. But like, you have to assume that he's talking about monitor and abuse base because we're not in tier 1, bro. And it doesn't make sense to be talking about 8-meter terror radiuses anymore because that's gone. Like, I don't even think he knows what he's talking about. Like, do you see? He has proven, to be honest, any shadow of a doubt in this video that he either doesn't know Myers is undetectable now, or he's talking about monitor and abuse as a perk slot, but went unclarified. That is horrible discussion. Horrible discussion.
Okay. It's 5 seconds. It's not a big deal.
That is a horrendous deal. Because, again, this 5 seconds is split up. So if you're playing somebody good that can tremendously block the line of sight, okay, you're gonna fucking be trapped as 105 for longer than quote-unquote 5 seconds. And then, I remember some people in that video were like, that I posted were like, oh, you should have just left the guy, dude. So you're telling me that Myers has to leave a survivor rotating around a rock early game? Really? And you're going to tell me he's not bottom 5? Early game. When there's a survivor rotating around a rock, not even using a pallet. Myers has to leave that. That does not do what you think it does. No other killer in the game has to leave that. So the fact that Myers does makes him look weak in comparison.
Nothing for 5 seconds after that. The thing is, though, like I've said earlier, that 5 seconds is not at a loss. Whereas another killer, for example, Clown, might spend that 5 seconds throwing bottles on both sides of the pallet or something like that. Myers will spend that time stalking, charging up his power, then he'll...
Yeah, and then Clown gets it down when he does that. When he throws his bottles on both sides, and then Clown gets it down. So, Myers having to stalk, yeah, he's losing time. Clown, when Myers fucking hits halfway to tier 3, Clown's already hooked the guy and is on the next chase.
The pallet. And at that point, he's accomplished what he needs to. He doesn't actually need to down that survivor now. Now he has a 99 tier 2 with basically no terror radius. He can just walk up to whoever he wants on a gen and just instantly down them. That's his strength right there. So you don't have to focus on just downing that first guy in that chase.
Well, yeah, but I also think that hitting and running and having to 99% a tier 3 and then leave the survivor to go on somebody else is a time consuming. Because pretend that the guy is like 15 seconds away, and then the gen is 15 seconds away from being completed. So you just dipped in the chase on a guy who was possibly injured. Okay? Which again, if the gen's 15 seconds away, that gen's popping no matter what you do. But you have to dot dip. You dot dipped, and then the other guy goes over there to the other gen. You know how much gen time you're losing by having to dot dip? You just had to dot dip. Because again, we're not just transferring over from one survivor to another survivor who's right there. We're having to leave and go, quote unquote, find whoever you want. So where is everybody, Scott? Where are they? They're on the generators. So like that is a situation which can be tied to, like, if there's 3 gens and the survivors are hitting the 3 gens on the other side of the map. So like you might have to go to the other side of the map there. That might take 15, 20 seconds. Like that's what I mean. Okay? So like Clown could at least have a hook and then also be over there, and the generators will be at like 40%, which is Myers will be at 35%, and then possibly, I'm trying to think here. And then you'll get the down, assuming they have like no exhaustion perks, because you have to assume you're chasing a new guy, assuming they have no exhaustion perks. If they sprint burst and then you tier 3, yeah, those gens are going to be worse than what Clown was. So if you just assume they're bad, I guess it works out for you. I guess it's about even with Clown actually downing and hooking the guy. But Clown can just start chasing. The problem with Myers is he's got a secondary objective. That's another problem. The killer has a secondary objective, ladies and gentlemen. Like, Clown being in that situation is just going to be a lot rare because he doesn't have to set up. He can just start chasing and start getting his pressure a lot earlier. Myers is only in situations like that because he has to fucking tier up and set up. So he immediately starts the game on the back foot against good teams.
Because that's not really the smartest way to do it. Yeah, you can brute force it with like Bamboozle and Spirit Fury Enduring, and that's actually a pretty fun build, and it works.
Yeah, against bad players that aren't gen rushing you. Like this build right here, Scott, you're going to get gen rushed, dude. You got Corrupt, which is like not good against good teams. You know Ruin Undying, Barbecue, which sucks against good teams, Bamboozle, and then Pop, which is not good against good teams. So, yeah, you're getting gen rush if these guys are good.
But really, Myers capitalizes kind of the same way that Wraith does, like with that whole hit and run style. And that is the far more effective way to play him.
Like, look at that!
So
look at that horrible tier up.
Doing.
I guess there's one guy left.
And after doing nothing, can instant down for 60 seconds. So another thing is, because he has no terror radius, you can't make real strategic positioning of where...
So he benefits from the hit and run style without using hit and run perks. That's another problem. He can't get the full benefit of the hit and run style because he's not using the perks that benefit from it. Like nurses. I've tried nurses on Myers before. It actually wasn't too bad, admittedly. But when he has a perk problem. The kit is so outdated and has no synergy with the game to the point where you just have to bring boo-boo gen perks to stop the fucking gens because they're going too fast. Like you have to bring Corrupt, Ruin, Undying, and then maybe even Pop because of how fast gens go and how much they'll have that. Like you might have to just bring full gen defense. Like you might not even have room for other shit. Of course, I still try to carry Infectious to a few wins, but like, bruh. Like, this character has a massive perk problem because his kit is so flawed.
He is relative to where you are. So, say you're just going for a save, and the Myers sees you're going for a hook save, and then he just pops tier 2 on you. You didn't really have a way of
He pops tier 2 on you going for a hook save? What gen grab did you get to make that happen? What gen grab against a go player did you get to get that happen? Like, that's bad. Okay, assuming he had... So that scenario he just said is never taking place. So let's assume he was talking about the other one, which was tier 3. In that situation, the survivor that is coming in to do to the Myers, because you're camping apparently, because apparently we're camping now. So if we're camping and we're popping tier 3s against people we're camping, that probably means we're on the back foot because getting out of tier 1 took so fucking long. Getting out of tier 1 took so fucking long, and so we're camping now. So at this point, the survivors are hook trading because they're winning. And then while you're doing this, there's 2 gens being completed by the 2 other survivors.
He was coming. If he was even 6 meters away from you behind a wall, you would have no way of knowing he was there unless you had Spine Shield or something like that. So at that point, the person that's going for the save, he gets instantly down.
He's
now
still talking about fucking 6 to 8 meters when the undetectable is still fucking happening to his right. Like, I don't fucking get it, dude. I guess it'd be his left, my right. Like, to his left, look. The undetectable symbol is there. He hasn't mentioned monitor and abuse once. How am I supposed to follow this, Scoot?
Downed under a guy on the hook, and now you've got 60 seconds of I one-shot you territory.
Yeah, you down the guy under the hook, and then the guy under you is injured. And then the 2 other guys are optimal, so they're fucking across the map doing gens. It's going to take about 40 seconds to get there, and if the guys have exhaustion perks... you're in trouble. You also have a 32-meter tear radius, meaning everything you said about Legion now applies to Myers, because we have a 32-meter tear radius again. Not a threat, just go in the direction that the tear radius is away from, and then boom, you can't get hit by tier 3. It's very... I'm sorry you can't draw these connections, Scott.
To where people are not going to want to come save, so now the guy on the hook is dying. Now you've got the guy on the ground unable to do anything.
Yeah, for 60 seconds. He's got 60... you pop the tier 3. Okay, listen to me, Scott. Listen to me. Let's do math here. You pop the tier 3. Boom. You hit him. You have 60 seconds. You have to pick the guy up. You have to go through your 3-second cooldown, pick the guy up, which is another horrendous animation, and then you have to actually hook the guy, which is another animation. So that's about what, 7 seconds? 7 to 10 seconds? Meaning that the survivors, if you camp that hook, because again, we're camping, dude! The survivors aren't going to come get that rescue. We're camping, dude! Or unless you leave the hook, and then, oh, guess what? He left the hook, guys. Go get him. Come get me. He left the hook. Communication destroys what you're talking about, dude. Absolutely. 100% destroys what you're talking about. Without even a contest. So, if they don't have communication, yeah, we're assuming solo queue babies, which is what we have to do for Myers to make him sound remotely good.
The other guy might just try to do a generator, but in that scenario, the threat of downing someone at that start of the first tier 1 and then having it for that full duration...
What are you talking about? The start... What is he talking about? The start of... What did he just say?
First tier 1?
Start of the first tier 1? This guy doesn't know what he's all over the place. I'm assuming he meant the first tier 3. Okay, well, you already fucking primed the tier 3, bruh. Because you already, in your situation, I'm assuming... Again, your tiers are all over the place. You don't even know what you're talking about. Unless you're... Again, if you're talking about tiering up to tier 2 on a guy who's coming to get a hook rescue... Again, I don't know how you're downing someone in tier 1 when you've already said don't chase with it. Scott, you don't make any sense, bro. You are all over the place here. This is one of your worst videos ever.
And then having it for that full duration is massive because...
Okay, so we're definitely talking about a tier 3 that we already popped. Okay? And again, we're assuming 60 seconds because you said 60 seconds. You could run an add-on, but again, when you run this add-on, it takes longer to stalk. So... so it becomes even more of a problem. So... You tier 3'd someone, again, the person has, assuming you're camping, a 10-second window to actually get the guy. And again, if they're camping, guess what they're doing, Scott? They're slamming gens! And then, the entire 2 minutes that you're sitting there camping, oh wait, no, just 1 minute, because then your tier will go away. So worst case scenario, they have to wait until tier 3 is over, and then maybe hit stage 2. Okay, if they're good, there's 1 gen left by the time you were doing that. Because you have to do all this shit to actually get the situation set up you're talking about. You not only have to get out of tier 1, down somebody, get enough tier 3 stock to have tier 2 prime. There's fucking 4 gens done by the time you're doing this off, Scott. There's fucking 4 gens done. This is all so convoluted and bad. For real.
Yeah, you might have to play a little scummy to do it. But if someone's on a hook...
but playing scummy in this game is bad. Camping is bad. There's 4 gens done by the time you even set your tier 3 up.
Someone's down on the ground under the hook and you're in tier 3, you win the game. You just won. So, in that type of scenario, that's when Myers can be so... deadly. The fact that he can someone's down on the ground under the hook and you're in tier 3, you win the game. You just won. So...
How are we getting somebody down at tier 3 when you pop tier 3 to get the guy instantly downed under the hook in the first place? I thought you're sitting here talking about you have to... So Scott's assuming that you're not even getting them. Which... Oh, God. We're playing Bubba, dude. We're literally just playing camping Insidious Leatherface. That's why Myers is good, guys. He can do Insidious Bubba strats. Jesus Christ.
In that type of scenario, that's when Myers can be so deadly. The fact that he can activate that tier 3 instantly whenever he wants and keep it for such a long time. That is.
And all the survivors go, hey guys, he's camping me. He's camping me, dude. He's camping me, bro. Oh, I'm sorry. He's around the corner. My spine shield's still active, guys. He's definitely still here. 16-meter tear radius, unless we got monitor, which we haven't said that yet. This is so convoluted and bad.
Threatening. Still going to think it was Myers. If you catch him out early, it's an automatic loss if you're
Yep.
any good at
Yup.
any good at all.
Yup.
If you catch him out early, it means you're interacting with him early. It means
What? No! If he's 20 miles away because of his white mask, you're not interacting with him. What? Scott. He's assuming the survivors are so bad, dude.
catching you out early. At which point he
No.
stalks you for 6 seconds, and then he's just a normal killer again without a terror radius. So
No! Scoot!
yeah, I don't really get that.
Scoot!
Really, the only way that's true
Scoot.
is if you're a 4-man survive with friends, someone see Myers across the map and tells everyone to hide in a locker or something like that, then sure.
Hiding in a locker? No. What are they getting in lockers for? If you see it's Myers, you start laughing and gen rush him. Because it's Myers, and he can't do anything about it. No, Scoot. No one's gonna hide in lockers. Lockers are bad. You kite the Myers. On the map that's not balanced.
You have to go to such, like, fantasy settings, like, to make...
You have to go through such fantasy settings to make this character remotely redeemable. Like, what you're talking about is a fantasy. I think the last time I did what you're talking about was a rank 13 game from, like 2 years ago. Like, for real.
These arguments make sense. And
No.
I don't think it's...
Spotting the Myers out halfway across the map because of his horrible white mask that contrasts with the background is not a fantasy. And maybe that's why you have an inflated view of the character.
fair. Surprise no...
I mean, I guess when you play Huntress and Oni all the time, and Demogorgon, because you think your palette shredding add-ons are really great, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to other characters.
Myers starts as 105, is completely add-on dependent. Again, I played most of these games with yellow and brown add-ons. Had no trouble whatsoever.
Yeah,
he's probably the
because
weakest.
you're playing against fucking, what was that, base skin Kate? Maybe a Prestige 2 Kate? I couldn't tell. Then I want to go back to find out. I think I will, though.
Add-ons had no trouble whatsoever.
Yeah, was that
he's probably the
Prestige 2
weakest.
Kate? You're playing Prestige 2 Kates with yellow. Yeah, who cares, dude?
Hardest to get insta-down power. Hardest to get insta-down power.
Well, yeah, because you have to get it. Oni there's a link. Oni, there's an actual link between furthering your win condition and actually getting your power. Myers, there's no link to furthering your win condition and getting the power. Because you're not hitting anybody. You're not hitting anybody to get, like, even if you get like a second and a half with stalk, that's not linked to your win condition yet. You still have a lot of time to be kited. That's what he's talking about.
Hardest to... You just look at people and hold your the button down.
Yeah, and that's really fucking hard if the survivors aren't bad. This guy has played so many bad survivors that he doesn't know what good survivors look like anymore. If it was so easy, he would be played at fucking tournaments. But there's obviously a reason he's not. He would be viable against Swift, but there's obviously a reason he's not.
You don't do anything. It's the easiest power to get in the game. It actually doesn't require anything.
No, the easiest power to get. You have to get it. You have to earn it. That is inherently bad. Having to earn something in this game when the gen rush is so fucking good is inherently bad. So unless, this is what we were talking about at the top of the video, so unless the power you're bringing to the table is broken and can win you the game off of like one consistent play, aka Hag and Oni, who are the two best killers with bad early games, they're good because they can, when Oni gets his power, he can fucking go across the whole map with his dash and fucking get everybody. When Hag's web is set up, she can win the game in a minute and a half. Myers can't do that. Myers can't do that. Tier 3 is nowhere near the level of Hag and Oni. So, because of that, all that crap that you're having to spend, all that hassle that you're spending actually earning your power, it shouldn't be there. Because it's not doing anything for you, but other than proving as an active hindrance. Now, of course, it does need to be there because just because of the way Myers works. But why can't he just start the match in Tier 2 with undetectable for 60 seconds? Why can't we just do that? There you go.
It requires you to look at people. Maybe he's saying difficulty in acquiring, not the actual skill involved to it. Let's tackle it as if he's saying that, because I think that one makes more sense, because just looking at people is easy. I still don't understand that. Looking people, like you've been seeing it in this video, just looking at people is not that hard.
Yeah, because they're not making any attempt at subterfuge. It's easy when the Jane's sitting there just dropping your item and looking at you, bruh. It's really easy when they don't play things correctly. It's super easy when they don't know an area with exploits like that Adam did at Yamaoka. Like, it's super easy when everything goes right for you.
You can have people in scenarios where they have no line of sight, whether it's a low loop like on McMillan or Autohaven or Colbin and Cowtree. Lots of maps.
Cowtree? For loops where you can get a lot of stock? Are you crazy? I guess if you like read a vault or they drop the pallet early, then maybe. And if they're running Cowtree right, what the fuck kind of stock you get in there? What? Are you insane? Yeah, with that big fucking tree in the middle, you're getting tons of stock there, dude.
Very short loops where they can't even not get stalked in the loop. And then there's certain things like jungle gyms and things like that, which you should probably just run normally, kick the pallet, and then as they're running to something else, then you can
stalk just kick the pallet. Like, it's that easy to burn the jungle gym. Bro, they can fucking loop you for like a minute there if they're good. So if you're just fucking running the jungle gym, then yeah, you're losing. You're playing right into their hands.
You don't want to try to, get stalking when there's like 50 line of sight blockers in a row. That's just...
And there's a lot of those, Scott. A lot of times the map RNG and the fucking trees make it so those kind of tiles chain into each other. So you're only getting stalk at a transition between tiles, because as you just said, you want to play this normally. So how much time is it taking here, bud? And plus, you have to tier 1. You have to get out of tier 1 before you do any of this. You got to get out of tier 1. Which, again, if they're good, is a hassle in and of itself. This is insane, bro. He's deluded.
Not efficient way of playing him. Against a good team, they can keep you in tier 1 all of the early game. See, this I don't really disagree, or I don't agree with either, because even the best team in the world doesn't know that you're Myers at the beginning of the match. So they're not going to go into the match.
The best teams find out in a second. Go watch the Deep Hip Squad. It's Myers was literally said within 30 seconds of the game, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you are underestimating how easy it is for them to find you when you're Myers. You're significantly downplaying how easy it is to get found. For real.
Just thinking, okay, it's a Myers. We need to creep along the edges of the map. We need to be very stealthy.
Why are they on the edges of the map? The best players aren't ever going to the edges of the map. This guy doesn't know what the best players look like. Because he's been playing Prestige 2 Kates as Myers a lot, apparently.
Be very careful. People don't do that. In fact, good survivors are cocky, run around, leave scratches. They don't give a shit. They're having fun. In that scenario, people just running out in the open, just, looting a chest. Like, they don't actually...
They're going to do that when they've won already, Scott. They're going to do that when they've won already. Unless they're just hopelessly arrogant. And from my experience, the arrogant players are never the best players.
Care in that scenario. So I find those players even easier to stalk than people that just spend the entire time.
No, the best... If you're talking about arrogant players are not good players. They're just the loudest players. They're the loudest players in the match. They're not the best. The good players are the ones that will run you for 3 minutes without teabagging you. Anybody who teabags you is probably angry because they lost, for real.
I'm just sort of hiding. So unless you're on like Larry's or the game or Hawkins or something like that, which again you're gonna have a shitty time just forever because fuck those maps. Getting out of tier 1, I just never...
You think Myers struggles at Hawkins? I don't think any killer struggles at Hawkins to the extent that some of the other maps
I have a problem with. I don't know what people are doing. I feel like I'm being like super egotistical, like I'm trying to...
Well, you are.
I'm so high above you guys. I get out of tier 1 so fast, but
because you're playing bad players. Like, bro, I get out of tier 1 fast in all of my matches. But that doesn't mean anything. You have to analyze. You just analyze the game. You're like, oh, look how good I just did against these babies. Who cares how good you did against the babies? No one cares how good I do against the babies, so why should no one cares how you do against the babies? It's about who is good. Look, where is it? Against a good team. There is a distinction between good and bad teams, Scott. A very, very big distinction between good and bad teams.
Genuinely don't ever have problems getting out of tier 1 within 10-15 seconds. So Jesus. I don't know what
he's gone.
What I'm doing right or you guys are doing wrong, but I don't...
No, it's the matchmaking. It's always been the matchmaking. If you played against a team that wasn't a wad of potatoes, it would become incredibly obvious what's going on here, because it's not in the control of you or any of these commenters. It's in control of the people they go against. And when you play against Prestige 2K, chances are you're not going to play against very good players.
Ever have an entire early game where I'm stuck in tier 1. It does rarely happen on those maps that I talked about, and that sucks. But for the most part, it's just not happening. I just don't get that. He has no anti-loop or consistent way to injure, and is in definition of an M1 killer. His consistent way of injuring is you cannot react to him being right next to you attacking you.
But you can. Again, we haven't made any distinction that we're using monitor and abuse, so we have to assume you have a 16-meter tear radius. I don't know who you're playing, Scott, but against good players, that is very reactable and very easy to deal with. Even 8 meters is easy to react. In a game where people can react to Ghostface, if they're really good, anybody is equipped to deal with your 8 or 16-meter tear radius. Again, you have a 16-meter tear radius here because you don't have monitor on.
This consistent way of injuring, or it's like Wraith. Wraith has a consistent way of injuring you.
No,
it's the same thing. As long as you play Myers correctly and you don't just.
It's not the same thing by any stretch of the imagination. This guy he's sitting here trying to defend Myers, and he doesn't even know Myers' stats. He's all over the place with these 8 meters and 16 meters. Well, no, not 60 meters. 8 meters. I don't know where this 8 meters thing is coming from. If it's with monitor, you have to say it's with monitor. Or else I'm just going to assume you don't know what you're talking about.
Walk in open fields all the time, you can get free hits on people extremely easy. And if you have a 99 tier 2, you can get free downs on anybody easily. That's what makes him...
But one down doesn't save you. One down doesn't save you. Your ability to control the map and pressure the gens chases you. You're not looking at it from a 1v4 scenario. You're still looking at it from a 1v1 scenario. This is the main reason why Legion's not the worst character in the game, because Legion has an immense ability to pressure 1 versus 4 teams. Legion can hit those 1 versus 4. My man has a good 1 versus 4 game. Myers' 1v4 game is only good with Infectious, and I don't see Infectious in your build.
So strong, so... He has no anti-loop. I don't think that's true. His anti-loop is I down you before you even realize that you're being attacked. That's his anti-loop.
Yeah, but you just said healing against him is good. So, assuming that healing against him is good, every survivor that you're playing against is healing. So, they're healing. And then you hit them once. What do? Leave? If you don't get it down at all, you're wasting your time. Then the survivor just runs off and heals with their medkit. So, who cares? And I don't see Ruin in your build either, so that doesn't do much for you either, without Ruin.
And it's strong when it works, and it can be used on basically any tile like this in the game. If you're working on a generator in this little jungle gym here...
16 meters is a big tear radius, bruh. 16 meters is a big tear radius against people that are good. It is. That's a big tear radius. And if you got to use Perk to help, you're using perks to help the character out now. Well, I can do the same thing with Legion and lower it by 8 meters and maybe catch people out flank because they're expecting a 32 meter. Do you see why using perks doesn't work? No, using perks doesn't exactly work, bruh.
In this little tile setup, you won't be able to see him coming because you're in that little alcove. As long as he comes from behind the wall.
Why are you in the alcove? Why not get to a place where you know he's not at? Why would you put yourself at a position where the Myers even allows... Like, why would you not go up to the top of the thing when you're at Ironworks of Misery? Why are you going to the alcove to heal? Like, who cares about people that go to the alcove to heal? They're bad.
Not from this side right over here. He's just going to get a hit on you, and there's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah,
unless you have Spine Chill again.
Yeah, Spine Chill, another thing that counts.
I'm surprised Myers is not in discussion. His power is also god-awful. The argument is always that he can snowball.
He also didn't say Myers is the worst. He just said in the discussion. And that's what we're advocating for. Myers is absolutely 100% bottom 5. Never saying he's the worst, not saying he's the worst in your game, but you have to include him in this discussion.
Huge misplays on the survivor side. No, it doesn't really. Because
what? Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Survivor has nothing to react to. If a Myers with a 6-meter tear radius
What is it with this 6-meter tear radius? Like, what is he talking about? I don't understand this. We're in tier 2 with 6-meter tear radius, so we're running Monitor and Dead Rabbit. We have to be. Which I don't see Monitor or Dead Rabbit in your build, bruh.
Up to a guy behind a wall and smacks him, there's no survivor misplay there.
Yeah, there is. If the guy was getting chased, because you just said, like, the fucking tear radius can, like, disappear mid-chase. If this guy immediately breaks chase and then starts healing at a bad spot, he's a clown. He's a clown, bruh. He's a clown.
Have to do that generator at some point. It's not
Not at the point where you're gonna get down if you just you're not at the point where you make a stupid play to do it. You have control of Survivor. You're not rushed. If you are 2 gens done, if you're 2 gens away from winning, the Myers has maybe 2 downs. You don't have to do that generator right that second, bruh. And again, no, you don't. There's other generators around the map. The devs made sure that the killers can't just guard one final gen. Like, you don't have to do that gen ever. No, not necessarily you don't. That's wrong too.
Survivor making a mistake. He just can't, you can't react to the Myers downing you there. And even if you heal to avoid the tier 2 sneak up, if he's got a 99 tier 3, you still can't react to that and then you instantly go down. That has nothing to
Yeah, but that's rare, and then you can keep track of that too. Because if the Myers doesn't pop tier 3 in a while, you have Dead Hard. Maybe it's best to 99 the heal, and then Dead Hard. Make sure you get some value out of your Dead Hard.
With having a good play or anything like that, sometimes you have to do gens that are covered by walls. In which case, the Myers is just going to get a free hit on you every single time, no matter how careful you are, unless you have Spine Chill again or something like that.
Unless you have the stuff that makes it not so. Yeah. You know, if you had Sprint Burst against the Legion, he could still get that first hit on you because Frenzy counters a Sprint Burst.
Or object, or some perk that reveals them through walls. If you have some gimmick perk, then whatever, it kind of invalidates the argument.
I don't consider Sprint Burst a gimmick perk myself.
I think that's completely unfair because you could apply that to every killer in the game. So,
well, so you could also apply the counterplay of spreading out to every killer in the game. You didn't give 2 fucking shits about that when you were bitching about Legion. So, yeah, it's double standard, bro.
No, I completely disagree that it requires a misplay on the Survivor.
Yes, it does.
It just simply requires
and then,
the Survivor.
even if you down one guy because of that, and then you do the instant tier 3, and then your Infectious goes off, every other down is a misplay from the Survivors.
For doing a generator, doing their objective with a wall nearby.
You just think this character's way better than you think than he is.
And couldn't Legion do the same thing since Survivors are basically always one-shot all the time? No, because again, Legion has no stealth mechanic whatsoever. As soon as you hear a terror radius, the Survivor has 10 seconds to get
And again, Myers, the best you get is 1, and then you have no stealth mechanic whatsoever. The best you get is 1. Which again, if the Survivor's outflanked, you don't need a stealth mechanic to get your 1 down as Legion. A stealth mechanic isn't required at all fucking situations in the game. Fucking some of the best killers in the game are not stealth killers. He's massively overrating how good stealth mechanics are. Because Survivors stealth mechanics are required by good awareness. And that, like, if you have good awareness, like, you counter stealth killers. That's just a thing.
Any safe place that they want. That is a huge amount of time to get to wherever the hell they want. They're going to get to a pallet or a window. With Myers, he just downs you before you can even think about what's happening. So, no, I disagree with that for sure.
No, that guy's
how do you not consider Myers? He has to work early game just to become a basic killer and get into where Survivors in most maps. It can take a long time to get at tier 1. The thing is, though, you keep saying aware Survivors. Survivors are not aware that they're going against the Myers until they see the Myers. At which point...
No, that's not true against people that are on comms. Again, they don't have to be good. There's a distinction between being on comms versus being good. Okay? Again, when you just tell your friend that you're playing against Myers, that's a massive problem for the Myers. Even if the players aren't good, all they have to do is hold them off for a certain amount of time. It doesn't take a top 1% team to exploit that problem. Okay? Again, if you're playing against 4 solo queues, you'll have a field day.
The Myers is already stalking them. So I still don't understand that argument because if you become aware of each other, it's because you see each other, which means that he can stalk you already.
No,
so
not in this game when there's comms, when there's communication. Not in this game. You can become aware of everybody can become aware of the Myers in the first 10 seconds, potentially, if they're all on comms. For real. Again, they don't have to be good. Just even the worst players in the world, if they're just playing with their friends, they can become aware of the Myers in the first 10 seconds. It's what you do with that sets you apart. But no, that's false. That defense is false.
I don't really understand why people keep going with that argument, because it's a two-way street. You have to be aware of each other. I guess if the Myers is like moonwalking across the map and you're on the other side of the map and you see him, sure. But for the most part, the scenarios you get are people are just running into you because they have no way of knowing that you're a Myers. And that is one of the...
They're just running into you. When they spawn next to a generator, they're running into you? Really? I don't think so, dude. I think they're climbing on the gen.
Things that get him out of tier 1 very quickly.
This guy has no.
Sure, he has ins and
regard
downs, but like you said, good
for the
survivors
early
are comfortable
games.
being injured. Again, not against stealth killers. Good survivors are not comfortable against stealth
Dude,
killers.
I still disagree with that notion. I still disagree with that notion. A sprint burst or a dead hard can make a stealth killer's life very miserable, because there's going to be no nurses value taking place during the game. If you heal against the stealth killer, you open the option for nurses to happen to you. You just do. It gives the stealth killer more information. So if you just have sprint burst or dead hard and stay injured, and then you get the reaction on the stealth killer, you're gone, and then they just wasted their time, and there's generators flying. Like, I just disagree with being injured against stealth killers is bad.
Being injured. People keep making that argument as if it's a universal truth. It is not. Being injured against stealth killers is very dangerous and will be one of the few times you'll see good survivors actually go for a heal. Because, the worst wraith in the world can just down the best survivor in the world if they have no time to react to it.
The worst wraith in the world can down the best survivor in the world if they're healing, when they got nurses calling value. Like healing can put you in a very worse spot. Otherwise, if you're on the generator and then you're wraith, you have to uncloak and then boom, sprint burst, bye bye. Like, bruh, and then you have to actually chase his wraith. You doing that? No.
Being injured against stealth killers is the worst thing that you can do. So that part I disagree with.
I don't agree with that.
All it really has is a slightly longer lunge, faster vaults, and a larger tear radius. The faster vaults, low-key, are extremely useful. People sleep on the faster vault a lot. It allows you to tackle tiles in a completely different way. For example, the shack, you can bait going out the door, moonwalk towards the window, and then vault it, and you will actually be able to hit them before they can get back around to the window or the pallet. Only Myers can do that.
Are you fucking sure about that? And what if they have dead hard and are not a potato? So you vault the window, you still are vaulting, they're like almost at the door at this point. Then they dead hard, and then what? Are you in tier 3? Can you stop the dead hard in tier 3? Because if you're tier 3, you should have just instantly downed them, so you're most likely not in tier 3. I don't know. That's not right either.
So people, I think, sleep on the power of the additional vault speed as well. You throw bamboozle on that shit.
But you could say that, again, you could say about anything, dude. You sleep on Legion's ability to pressure. Like, you could say that about anything.
You can outplay, like, every tile in the game.
No, you can't.
It's pretty nuts. I'm not a huge fan of bamboozle, but I do like it on Myers. It's pretty damn fun. So that's a lot right there. If the survivor's decent at looping, they can waste most of his time as well.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, you shouldn't be wasting most of his time, because if he's playing it correctly, he's 99ing you and hitting you immediately. He's hitting you within 1 second of his 99.
So you got all that fucking stock, right? You got all that stock. And then what happens when you run out of stock? Like, you forget that. He hasn't even mentioned that. The guys can just run out of stock. So what happens when the guy you were, like, feeding on is bad and the only guy who's left is done? He's gone. And then there's 3 other survivors that are good. Then what? How you stalking them? Like, bruh.
Tier 3. That's the correct way to play Myers. That's why I keep saying Myers is not really that fun to go against, because in that scenario, you basically have someone appear and just down you, and you don't have anything to do about it. Because that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's the correct, efficient way to play him. So in that scenario, it doesn't matter. You can't waste all of his time, because if he's playing correctly, he's downing you before you can react to it. Now, getting secondary kills off of that initial down is definitely more of an argument for sure. But that's where things like, that's where perks come into play. Spirit Fury, Enduring, Bamboozle.
Oh, yeah. Spirit Fury, Enduring, Bamboozle. You and what gen control are running that build?
Simply vaulting faster by default. Things like that. The fact that you will not know where he is when he starts, so it'll give you very little reaction time if he's got infection.
When he starts? When he starts his downs? What?
Right? And down someone next to you, you don't have time to even react.
Yeah, but
to
you have your
getting
exhaustion
away.
perks.
You just have to start booking it immediately. He might be able to get you within that 60 seconds.
You have exhaustion perks.
There are a lot of scenarios where Myers can snowball pretty well.
We haven't
Granted,
even
if people
talked
spread
about
out and play
those.
efficiently, that's not going to happen with any killer. So that's not really an argument against Myers.
It's also not an argument against the Legion.
Something that happens against every killer in the game if everyone spreads out.
It's also not an argument against the Legion.
What's worse is the fact if he can't get to tier 3 off of one survivor. What's even worse is the fact he can't even get to tier 3 off of one survivor.
That's true.
And he can legit be powerless against some people if you find the wrong. That's not true. You can get tier 3 off one survivor. Granted, it's a bad idea, because then you basically use all of them up entirely, so I wouldn't do that, but you can, so that's not correct.
That kind of is correct. See, because like what he's saying is like, I'm sure he's factoring tier 1 in there as well. So tier 1, and even again, Like, even if you do that, like, you're not gonna, yeah. So, like, that doesn't, that's not good. And then the guy's dead. Which, again, that's not just not playing Myers right, that's a weakness of the character himself. That's a limitation. Like, just said, like, that writing that guy off is bad, even though it's not. It's a bad play because you can't do that without losing their stock. It's a bad play not because that guy is bad, it's a bad play because your character is bad. Like, it's not the thought that's bad, it's the character's inability to make that play work.
Myers, without broken add-ons, is one of the weakest. Terrible early game and weak power. While only has early game with normal speed and gets insane mobility and one-shots with his power. Oni doesn't have early game. What? Oni has zero Oni. My God.
What he's saying, Scott, is that Oni has early game with normal speed. So at least you get to go with 115.
It's been a long video. I'm sorry.
That's what
Oni
he's saying.
has zero early game at all. You just have to walk up to people and hit him. In fact, it's easier for Myers to get a hit on people because he has no tear radius.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be doing that as by your own admission.
So I don't understand that.
It's 115, Scott. He has the fundamentals at the beginning of the game.
Oh, granted, Oni's power is definitely stronger than Myers' power. That's why we're not arguing that Myers is better than Oni, because he's definitely not. We're just saying Myers is not the worst killer. But that is a weird argument because Oni's early game is equally terrible.
No, it's not. Oni has the fundamentals, Myers doesn't.
I want to bring up Myers is the worst killer. Realistically, what does his power actually do to help him in a chase?
Nothing.
End the chase before it begins. That's what it does.
No. In the chase before it begins is not helping during the chase. So even if you want to grant that, still nothing. Still nothing. And this man is obviously a fan of playing him like Wraith, which I mean I guess that might be the most efficient play of the way to play him, but still he's not good. He's not good. We've already went into several reasons why he's not good. This is getting quite repetitive. I'm going to go ahead and just cut it off there. I think I've destroyed this enough. The same thing that applies to Legion applies to Myers at an equally extreme degree. Okay, Myers is super weak early game, and anyone that just is downplaying that is wrong against good teams. You have to be good. You have to be good. There's a big distinction between good and bad. Prestige 2Ks aren't good, Scott. So, I implore you to do more research. I implore you to play against actual good players. I implore you to get a group of survivors that you know are good together instead of just playing basic matches. And then try to play Myers and see how it goes. And then, for additional research, play Legion against the same group. I know who you'll do better with then, Scott. I know. All right, I'm getting the hell out of here, lads. GG's.